Malaysia set for presidential vote. US Senate advances aid bill for Ukraine. Hello, good afternoon. I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching World Today. Indonesians are ready to vote in a presidential election on Wednesday, with Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto the clear favourite after a campaign mixing nationalist rhetoric and pledges to continue the era of popular outgoing leader Joko Widodo. The former general lost to Widodo in 2014 and 2019, but is on course to finally lead the world's third largest democracy after rehabilitating his image. Widodo is constitutionally barred from running for a third term, but his popularity hit all-time highs last year, with polls showing he would have likely won another election. Instead, he is playing kingmaker for his defence chief and eldest son, who have joined forces on the same ticket. Polls project Subianto to win a majority from nearly 205 million Indonesians, who will dip their finger in halal ink at more than 800,000 polling stations across the volcano-dotted archipelago. Battling the 72-year-old for a potential second-round run-off vote if he falls short are former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan and former Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo. NGOs and his former military bosses accuses Subianto of ordering the abduction of democracy activists at the end of dictator Suharto's rule in the late 1990s, but his new cuddly grandpa persona has won over younger voters. Subianto has pledged to carry on Widodo's ambitious economic development and infrastructure building. Baswedan has instead promoted an opposition message targeting bad governance, while Pranowo has offered a free internet for students and banked on his humble background. Voting starts at 7 a.m. on Wednesday in easternmost Papua and ends at 1 p.m. at the other end of the country in jungle-clad Sumatra. Former Conservative Prime Minister Alexander Stubb won Sunday's Finnish presidential election, assuming a role that has gained importance in light of the country's NATO membership and rising tensions with neighbouring Russia. Some 4.3 million voters were choosing between Stubb and former Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto, a Green Party MP running as an independent. When all votes were counted, the final tally gave Stubb 51.6% of the vote. Stubb, who called the win the greatest honours of his life, will assume office on 1st March. The changing geopolitical landscape in Europe will be the main challenge for the new head of state, who will have limited powers compared to the Prime Minister, guides the country's foreign policy together with the government and act as a supreme commander of Finland's armed forces. Relations between Moscow and Helsinki deteriorated following Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, prompting Finland to drop decades of military non-alignment and join NATO in April 2023. Russia, with whom Finland shares a 1,340-kilometer borders, swiftly warned of countermeasures. Now, Hamas has warned Israel that a ground offensive in Rafah would imperil negotiations on a truce and the exchange of captives and prisoners, as United States President Joe Biden said an assault should not go ahead without a credible plan to protect civilians in the city. 8 groups and foreign governments, including Israel's key ally, the US, have voiced deep concern over Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's pledge to extend ground military operations into the far southern Gaza city. A Hamas leader warned that any attack by the Israeli occupation army on the city of Rafah would torpedo the exchange negotiations. Rafah, on the border with Egypt, is the last refuge for Palestinians fleeing Israel's relentless bombardment elsewhere in the Gaza Strip in its 4-month war against Hamas since 7th October last year. Netanyahu has told troops to prepare to enter the city that now hosts more than half of Gaza's total population, spurring concern about the impact on displaced civilians. To date, some 1.4 million Palestinians have crowded into Rafah, with many living in the tents, while food, water and medicine are becoming increasingly scarce. In a related development, the World Health Organization (WHO) delivered trauma supplies, medicines and vaccines to Al-Aqsa Hospital in central Gaza for the first time in nearly a month. The 270-bed hospital currently accommodates 400 patients and over 5,000 people seeking shelter, with one-third of hospitalized patients being unable to be discharged due to the lack of safe place to go.
We are here to support the health system that's suffering, not only because of the chronic blockade and this actual war, but also from the movement of population that impedes health workers to do their work at the best possible way. A ceasefire has to be achieved as soon as possible now, so that we make sure that the health workers are able to deliver at the best of their capacities.
Al-Aqsa Hospital has gradually restored functionality, expanding from just 5 doctors in January to approximately 300 physicians and 400 nurses. Yet, WHO noted the hospital still experiences immense needs in supplies and facilitation for patient referrals outside of the Gaza Strip. Health authorities in Gaza, which is controlled by Hamas, estimated about 28,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, have been killed in the region since the conflict began in October. A narrowly divided U.S. Senate moved closer to passing a $95.34 billion aid package for Ukraine, Israel and Taiwan on Sunday, showing undiminished bipartisanship despite growing opposition from Republican hardliners and former President Donald Trump. The Democratic-led Senate cleared the latest procedural hurdle and moved the foreign aid measure further on toward an ultimate vote on passage at some point in the coming days. The money is viewed as crucial by Kiev as it grinds towards the second anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But Senate passage would send the bill on to the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, where it faces an uncertain future. Democratic President Joe Biden, who has been seeking the aid for months, said Congress would be guilty of neglect if it failed to pass the measure. The bill could move more quickly if Democrats and Republicans reach an agreement to fast-track the measure. But no such deal has emerged so far. The bill includes $61 billion for Ukraine, $14 billion for Israel in its war against Hamas, and $4.83 billion to support partners in the Indo-Pacific, including Taiwan, and deter aggression by China. It also would provide $9.15 billion in humanitarian assistance to civilians in Gaza and West Bank, Ukraine, and other conflict zones around the globe. To injured in Texas, a mega church shooting incident. Stay tuned.
Kita perkenalkan sistem padu pangkalan data utama. Pertama, ia selaras dengan pendekatan dan dasar transformasi digital. Kedua, menjamin supaya manfaat dan kemudahan itu dinikmati oleh orang yang berhak menerimanya. Dan tentunya dengan cara yang sedemikian mengurangkan kos, mengurangkan ketirisan. Dan kaedah diperkenalkan melalui padu ini ialah secara tidak langsung memaksa setiap warga negara faham tentang transformasi digital dan menggunakan sistem padu. Dengan sendirinya kita ada pencerahan kecelekan budaya dan kecelekan digital.
2 people, including a 5-year-old boy, were wounded after a woman opened fire at a celebrity U.S. pastor Joel Osteen's mega church in Houston, Texas, one of the largest religious venues in the United States. Houston Police Chief Troy Finner said the woman was armed with a long gun when she entered the non-denominational Christian church with a child just before 2 p.m. Arriving at the church, housed in a converted former sports arena, which can seat home 16,800 people, she began to fire, Fina said, but off-duty police officers working security at the venue quickly shot back, and she was killed. The 5-year-old child was also hit and is in critical condition at the local hospital, while a man who's in his 50s is being treated for a gunshot wound to the leg. Mass shootings are common in the United States, where there are more guns than people, and about a third of adults owned a firearm. Polls show a majority of Americans favor stricter gun regulations, but the powerful gun lobby and mobilized voters supporting the country's culture of strong gun rights have repeatedly stymied lawmakers from taking action. Now, 14 people were injured, including 2 seriously, after 3 fell onto the tracks of a children's roller coaster at an amusement park in the Spanish region of Catalonia on Sunday. Strong winds caused the 3 to fall on the Tomahawk children's roller coaster at the Port Aventura World Park in Vila Seca, about 90 kilometers from Barcelona on Sunday morning. The theme park said in a statement that some of the branches hit visitors who were on the ride. Catalan Emergency Services said they had treated the 14 injured people, 2 of whom were taken to hospital with serious injuries. Another 3 people were hospitalized with less severe injuries. The emergency services did not provide any information on the ages of those injured. The Portaventura World Park is the most visited amusement park in Spain and the 6th most visited in Europe, according to Portaventura. According to Portaventura's website, the Tomahawk ride is a children's roller coaster with frenetic climbs and descents. The park said it would cooperate with authorities. 14 people were injured, including 2 seriously after a tree fell onto a tracks of a children's roller coaster at amusement park in the Spanish region of the Catalonia on Sunday. Now we move on to the next news. A plane carrying 4 Canadian skydivers came down on a beach on Sunday in southern Mexico, killing 1 man who was on the sand. There was no immediate information on why the plane went down, but it appeared to have made a forced landing and was largely intact. However, the plane fell in a relatively populated section of the beach at the Pacific coast town of Puerto Escondido and landed almost on top of the victim, whose nationality was not disclosed. The 4 Canadians and 1 Mexican man aboard the small aircraft were removed from the plane and taken off for treatment. The Oaxaca State Civil Defense Office said they were seen in stable condition. There was no immediate information of the names or hometowns of the Canadians. The office said the dead man's wife was nearby during the incident but was unharmed. The accident happened just meters away from the water and even closer to a wooden beach structure of the kind frequently used in Puerto Escondido for restaurants. Videos of the aftermath posted on social media showed beachgoers carrying at least 1 person from the aircraft over the sand. Now, a massive oil spill from an overturned vessel off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago is not under control. Prime Minister Keith Rowley said this yesterday after the mystery vessel capsized on Wednesday in waters off the Caribbean island, having made no emergency calls, with no sign of crew and no clear sign of ownership. Rowley on Sunday declared a national emergency as oil leaking from the vessel affected some 15 kilometers of the coastline. He said cleaning and restoration can only begin as soon as the authorities have the situation under control. Divers have so far been unable to plug the leak. Hundreds of volunteers have been toiling since Thursday to halt the spread of the oil, and the government has asked for even more to lend a hand. The leak has damaged a reef and Atlantic beaches, and residents of the village of Lembo have been advised to wear masks or temporarily relocate. The spill comes at the height of the carnival, threatening the tourist business that is crucial to the dual island nation's economy. Divers spotted the name Gulfstream off the craft's side and have identified a length of cable, possibly indicating it was in the process of being towed. The island's emergency management agency said there were no signs of life on the vessel, which is around 100 meters in length. Next in sports, Hull seals AFCON final win for Ivory Coast. Stay with us. Tunku Panglima Johor Tunku Abdul Rahman Sultan Ibrahim made history with the 888 team after securing their first victory at the GT category at the fourth round of the Asian Le Mans Series at Yas Marina Circuit in the United Arab Emirates, UAE. According to a statement from the 888 team, Tunku Abdul Rahman alongside Lucas Stolz and Jordan Love displayed efficient driving throughout the 4-hour race, clinching victory in their series debut. Driving a Mercedes AMG GT3 and starting from the 5th grid, Tunku Abdul Rahman proved that the team's participation was more than just a symbolic with the emphatic win. The team also managed to avoid any unforeseen incidents during the race. Meanwhile, His Majesty Sultan Ibrahim, King of Malaysia, congratulated his son Tunku Abdul Rahman on his maiden victory at the Asian Le Mans Series race in Abu Dhabi. Witnessing the race were Tunku Temanggung Johor, Tunku Idris Iskandar Sultan Ibrahim, and Tunku Putera Johor, Tunku Abu Bakar Sultan Ibrahim. Sebastian Haller scored the winning goal 9 minutes from the end as host Ivory Coast claimed a third Africa Cup of Nations title with a 2-1 victory over Nigeria in the final at the Alassane Ouattara Stadium in Abidjan on Sunday. It was a triumph born from adversity as the Ivorians scraped out their group following 2 defeats, including a humiliating 4-0 loss to Equatorial Guinea before finding their form in the knockout rounds with a never-say-die attitude that led them to the title. William Trucy Kong's header gave Nigeria a first-half lead as he rose to meet Samuel Chukwe's flick on from a corner, but Frank Cassie equalised just past the hour mark after being left unmarked at the back post from a set piece. The Ivorian had to come from behind several times in the tournament and did it again when Haller steered Simon Adingra's cross into the net, much to the delight of his rookie coach Emers Faye, who had started the tournament as assistant to sacked Frenchman Jean-Louis Gasset. Qatar players delighted their fans with an open-top bus parade at Lusail Boulevard yesterday, showing off the Asian Cup trophy they won after beating Jordan 3-1 in the final. Qatar successfully defended their Asian Cup crown on Saturday at Lusail Stadium, where Akram Afif converted 3 dubious penalties to become the tournament's top scorer as the hosts won their second continental title. Jordan were playing in the first Asian Cup final and seeking a first major trophy, but it was Qatar who prevailed in front of 86,492 fans, including Qatar's ruler Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani and FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Asian Football Confederation AFC President Sheikh Salman bin Ibrahim Al Khalifa has congratulated Qatar on creating history as the West Asians became only the 5th team to defend their Asian Cup crown. Sheikh Salman also reiterated his appreciation to the Qatar Football Association, the AFC Asian Cup Qatar 2023 local organizing committee, and Qatari authorities for a spectacular tournament that will take its place as the most successful men's flagship edition in history. Declan Rice scored on his return to West Ham as Arsenal smashed David Moyes' men 6-0 in a statement of intent in the Premier League title race yesterday. Star boy Bukayo Saka also struck twice, while Leandro Trossard and centre-back William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes were also on target in a ruthless display from Mikel Arteta's men as they set a new club record for a Premier League away win. There was never any doubt of the outcome once Saliba headed home Rice's corner to open the floodgates on 32 minutes. Saka missed a penalty in against West Ham last April, but made no mistake from the spot after he had been brought down by Alfonso Areola. Trossard piled on the West Ham pain in the first half stoppage time as he cut inside to fire brilliantly into the top corner. Arsenal added 2 more goals in 2 minutes just after the hour mark. Saka's first had been his 50th Arsenal goal and he cut inside to fire home in trademark fashion on his left foot. Rice then rubbed salt in West Ham wounds with a stunning finish into the top corner from outside the box. The 25-year-old refused to celebrate out of respect for his former teammates and supporters. But after Arsenal were criticised by some members of the media for going overboard in their celebration of a 3-1 win over Liverpool last weekend, there was even more for Arteta and his players to get excited about. Meanwhile, super sub Scott McTominay scored late winner as Manchester United continued to inch up the Premier League table and keep alive their dreams of European qualification with a 2-1 win at Aston Villa early this morning. Rasmus Højlund scored his 5th goal in 5 consecutive league games and 11th in all competitions to put United ahead in the 17th minute, knocking in Harry Maguire's header from close range through keeper Emi Martinez's legs. Throughout the match, Villa had 10 shots on target to United's 5 and 55.9% of possession. United keeper Andre Onana also produced several huge saves to keep Villa off the score sheet until Douglas Luiz levelled in the 67th minute. But United at the last laugh with Scotland's McTominay coming on in the 73rd minute and scoring the winner in the 86th, leaping to head a superb cross from Diogo Dalot past Martinez. Eric Ten Hag's United are 6 on 41 points after their 3rd consecutive victory, 5 points behind 5th place Villa, who would have climbed to 4th with a win. United are also 6 points away from 4th spot and a Champions League berth next season. Francis Hugo Mbek downed Grigor Dimitrov on Sunday to claim the Open 13 Province ATP 250 title. The 25-year-old beat in-form Bulgarian Dimitrov 6-4, 6-3 to win his 5th tour level final and will move up to 18th in the new ATP rankings. The only new permanent sports venue built in inner Paris for the Olympics this year opened its doors on Sunday in an area of the capital, hoping to shed its reputation for crack dealing and crime. The 8,000-seat arena Porte de la Chapelle, which sits just inside the capital's ring road, is a key part of regeneration efforts centered on one of Paris's most deprived neighborhoods. The Porte de la Chapelle area, which will host badminton and rhythmic gymnastics during the Paris 2024 Games, was until recently the scene of so-called Crack Hill, a meeting place for up to 300 addicts at its worst in 2020. Since becoming a symbol of capital's drugs problems, police have stepped up patrols while the hills has been re-landscaped and planted with trees, dispersing the dealers and their customers. Migrant camps that were also a constant feature under the race sections of the nearby Ring Road and A1 motorway have also been prevented from forming under tactics decried by some charities. Paris Mayor Annie Hidalgo, who launched her re-election bid from Porte de la Chapelle in 2020, has made the new arena a core part of a €500 million makeover of the district. Other regeneration efforts include tearing up the main thoroughfare, which serves as a major route into central Paris. World Aquatics announced that Beijing will host the 2029 World Aquatics Championships. World Aquatics President Hussein Al-Musallam revealed the winning bid at a press conference in Doha, where this year's championship are being hosted. This is the second time China has hosted the competition after Shanghai staged the event in 2021. Beijing's National Aquatics Center, also known as the Water Cube, will host the event in 2029 as well as the World Aquatics Masters Champions later that year. The venue also hosted events during the 2008 Summer Olympic and Paralympic Games, as well as the 2022 Winter Olympic and Paralympic Games when it was renamed the Ice Cube. China are the top of the 2024 World Aquatic Championship medals table with 17 golds and a total of 24. The second place nations are Australia with 3 golds and a total of 9 medals. A world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum and his coach Gervais Hakizimana died in a car crash in western Kenya that left a third passenger injured. According to local police, the 24-year-old was driving from Kaptagat to Eldoret in western Kenya around 11 p.m. on Saturday when the car rolled. Kiptum ran a world record 2 hours and 35 seconds in the Chicago Marathon in October, taking 34 seconds off fellow Kenyan Eliud Kipchoge's previous record. Kiptum's run marked the third time a man's world record had been set on the streets of Chicago, but the first time since Morocco's Khalid Khannouchi in 1999. World Athletics said Kiptum had not raced since then, but he had been due to compete at the Rotterdam Marathon in April, where he was hoping to become the first man to break 2 hours for the marathon on a record-eligible course. Hakizimana, who is from Rwanda, was a runner who trained for years in Kenya, where he met Kiptum in the youth village of Chepkorio. By 2019, Kiptum ran 2 half marathons in 2 weeks, going 60 minutes and 48 seconds in Copenhagen and 59 minutes and 53 seconds in Belfort, France, and began training with Hakizimana, who stayed in Kenya when the COVID-19 pandemic struck. Alright, and that ends our bulletin today. Wrapping up with a recap of our top story. Indonesia set for presidential vote. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. We leave you with a visual of Saudi Arabia's Red Sea project on the kingdom's west coast as the country plans to transition the oil-reliant economy away from fossil fuels. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Shuhaida Arifin.